In the late 1960s, a computer was a colossal machine, a room-sized behemoth humming with vacuum tubes and blinking lights, accessible only to an elite priesthood of engineers and scientists. To interact with it, you fed it stacks of precisely punched cards, each hole a coded instruction, then waited hours, sometimes days, for a printout of inscrutable characters.
The idea of a personal computer, a device intuitive enough for anyone to use, sitting on a desk in every home, was a fantastical dream, bordering on heresy. Yet in a quiet, unassuming research lab tucked away in Palo Alto, California, a small group of brilliant minds, fueled by an audacious vision and a seemingly limitless budget, was about to conjure this future into existence.
They were not just building a new machine. They were inventing a new way of thinking about human-computer interaction, a paradigm shift so profound it would reshape the entire technological landscape, though its true architects would remain largely unknown to the millions who would eventually benefit.
The question wasn't if this revolution would happen, but who would ultimately deliver it to the world, and what price would be paid for such a monumental leap forward. This crucible of innovation was the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center, or PARC, established in 1970. Xerox, then a titan of the copier industry, poured millions into PARC, hoping to secure its future in a rapidly digitizing world.
They assembled an extraordinary collection of computer scientists, physicists, and psychologists, giving them unparalleled freedom and resources. Among them was Alan Kay, a visionary who had long dreamed of a Dynabook, a personal, portable computer for children, intuitive and powerful. He envisioned a world where computing was not about batch processing, but about direct manipulation, where users could interact with information as naturally as they interacted with physical objects.
This wasn't just about faster calculations. It was about augmenting human intellect, making technology an extension of the mind. The atmosphere at PARC was electric, a heady mix of academic idealism and engineering pragmatism. Researchers like Larry Tesler, a former anti-war activist turned computer scientist, worked tirelessly, driven by the belief that technology should empower, not intimidate.
They were building something truly unprecedented, a technological marvel that would challenge every preconceived notion of what a computer could be. By the mid-1970s, PARC had produced the Alto, a machine that was, by any measure, decades ahead of its time. It wasn't just a computer, it was a complete personal workstation. Unlike the command line interfaces of the era, where users typed cryptic commands, the Alto featured a Graphical User Interface, or GUI.
Imagine a screen displaying not just text, but icons, windows, and menus, all navigable with a revolutionary pointing device, the mouse. This small, wheeled contraption, initially conceived by Douglas Engelbart, allowed users to directly manipulate objects on the screen, dragging, clicking, and resizing with unprecedented ease. The Alto ran Smalltalk, an object-oriented programming language designed for simplicity and flexibility, and boasted Ethernet, the first local area network.
Researchers could send emails, print documents, and share files across the network, all while interacting with their machines through a visually rich, intuitive interface. The Alto was a complete ecosystem, a functional prototype of the future, demonstrating what personal computing could truly be. The excitement within PARC was palpable. They knew they had invented something truly world-changing. Yet, outside the hallowed halls of PARC, the parent company, Xerox, remained largely oblivious.
The copier giant, accustomed to selling expensive hardware to large corporations, struggled to grasp the significance of a personal computer. Jerry Elkind, one of the astute managers at PARC, fought valiantly to communicate the Alto's potential to corporate executives in Rochester, New York. He arranged demonstrations, presented detailed business plans, and passionately articulated the vision of a desktop machine that could revolutionize offices and homes.
But the executives, blinded by the immense profits from their copier business and wary of cannibalizing existing product lines, saw the Alto as a niche product, too expensive, too complex, and too far removed from their core business.
They couldn't envision a market for a computer that didn't require a dedicated operator and a raised floor.
The internal struggle was immense, a group of visionaries creating the future, while their corporate overlords, sitting thousands of miles away, saw only a distraction. This disconnect created a dangerous vacuum, a precious technological treasure trove left unguarded, ripe for discovery by someone with the foresight to understand its true value. Enter Steve Jobs.
In late 1979, Apple Computer, the company he co-founded, was a burgeoning force in the nascent personal computer market, but their machines, like most others, relied on text-based interfaces. Jobs was already obsessed with making computers accessible and beautiful, but he was facing a crisis with the Lisa project, Apple's next-generation machine, which was falling behind schedule and becoming overly complex.
He heard whispers of the incredible work being done at PARC, a place where the future of computing was already a tangible reality. A deal was struck. Xerox, desperate to find new investment opportunities, agreed to invest $1 million in Apple, then a private company, in exchange for 3 days of access to PARC's labs. It was a Faustian bargain for Xerox, a desperate attempt to leverage their research, but one that would ultimately prove to be one of the most significant blunders in corporate history. Jobs, always a shrewd negotiator, saw an opportunity, a chance to peer behind the curtain of innovation, and perhaps find the missing piece for Apple's next big leap. The stage was set for a pivotal moment in technological history, a moment that would forever alter the trajectory of personal computing. On December 11, 1979, Steve Jobs, accompanied by several Apple engineers, including Jeff Raskin, who was leading the Macintosh project, arrived at PARC. The atmosphere was a mix of excitement and apprehension among the PARC researchers. Larry Tesler, a key developer of Smalltalk and the GUI, was among those tasked with demonstrating their creations. As the lights dimmed and the Alto screen flickered to life, displaying a graphical interface with overlapping windows, pull-down menus, and a cursor controlled by a mouse, Jobs was reportedly stunned. He paced the room, his eyes wide, a mixture of disbelief and intense focus on his face. He saw not just a technological marvel, but a complete paradigm shift, a way to make computers truly personal and intuitive. He famously exclaimed, "Why aren't you productizing this? This is incredible." "You're sitting on a gold mine." The PARC researchers, while proud, were also frustrated, having repeatedly tried and failed to convince Xerox management of the same. Tesler, in particular, felt a pang of unease, a premonition that their groundbreaking work was about to be appropriated, not by their own company, but by this charismatic, intense outsider. The future, in that moment, had a new, unexpected claimant. Jobs returned to Cupertino a man possessed. He immediately gathered his engineers, his mind alight with the possibilities he had witnessed. He famously told them, "We're going to do a graphical user interface, we're going to build a mouse, and we're going to make it affordable." The task was monumental. The Alto cost tens of thousands of dollars, and its GUI was built on powerful, expensive hardware. Apple needed to replicate the experience on a much cheaper machine, using less powerful processors, and make it consumer-friendly. The Lisa team, already struggling, was initially tasked with this, but Jobs, impatient with their progress and the project's escalating costs, soon shifted his focus to the Macintosh project, which he wrested control of from Jeff Raskin. He instilled in the Mac team an almost fanatical devotion to the GUI, demanding perfection, simplicity, and elegance. The pressure was immense, the hours long, and the stakes incredibly high.
This wasn't just about building a computer, it was about building a revolution, and Jobs was determined that Apple, not Xerox, would be the one to deliver it to the masses. The Macintosh development became a legendary saga of engineering brilliance, artistic design, and sheer willpower. Jobs pushed his team relentlessly, demanding pixel-perfect icons, intuitive menus, and a mouse that was not only functional, but also elegant and inexpensive to manufacture. Engineers like Bill Atkinson and Andy Hertzfeld worked around the clock, grappling with the technical challenges of bringing a sophisticated graphical environment to a relatively underpowered machine.
They invented new algorithms for drawing graphics quickly, optimized code to fit into limited memory, and painstakingly designed every visual element. The Mac team, a small band of rebels, saw themselves as pirates, stealing the future from the corporate behemoths and delivering it to the people. They even flew a pirate flag over their building. The spirit was one of intense camaraderie and fierce dedication, fueled by Jobs' unwavering vision and relentless pursuit of perfection. Every design choice, every line of code was scrutinized, debated, and refined, all in service of creating a machine that would be insanely great and accessible to everyone. The culmination of this Herculean effort arrived on January 22, 1984. During the third quarter of Super Bowl XVIII, a groundbreaking commercial aired, depicting a lone female athlete smashing a totalitarian screen, symbolizing the liberation from conformity. 2 days later, Steve Jobs, dressed in a suit and bow tie, stood on a dimly lit stage in Cupertino, a palpable tension in the air. With a dramatic flourish, he pulled the Macintosh out of a canvas bag, inserted a floppy disk, and as the machine whirred to life, a synthesized voice boomed. "Hello, I am Macintosh, and I can talk." The crowd erupted. On the screen, icons appeared, windows overlapped, and the mouse cursor danced across the desktop. For the first time, the world saw the Graphical User Interface, not as a research curiosity, but as a tangible, user-friendly reality. It was a moment of pure technological theater, a revelation that instantly redefined what a computer could be. The PARC researchers, watching from afar, felt a complex mix of pride and bitterness. Their vision, their years of relentless work, had finally reached the world, but under a different banner.
Larry Tesler would eventually join Apple, a testament to the irresistible pull of seeing his work realized. The Macintosh, with its intuitive GUI and mouse, became an instant cultural icon, fundamentally changing how people interacted with computers. It wasn't an overnight commercial success in its initial iteration, but it laid the groundwork for an entire industry.
Xerox, despite its early lead, failed to capitalize on its own groundbreaking inventions, ultimately missing out on one of the biggest technological revolutions in history. Their executives, unable to see beyond the copier business, allowed a nascent industry to slip through their fingers. The legacy of PARC, however, endures. Its researchers, though often uncredited by the broader public, are recognized by those in the know as the true pioneers of modern computing.
Their vision of a personal, graphical, networked computer became the blueprint for every desktop and laptop that followed. The story of PARC and Apple is a powerful reminder that innovation alone is not enough. It takes astute vision, relentless execution, and a deep understanding of the market to transform groundbreaking research into a world-changing product. The future, it turns out, isn't just invented. It has to be delivered.